This is Purpose City, Stories of Humanity in Action, presented by Executive Wealth Management. Guests on Purpose City do not necessarily reflect an endorsement of Executive Wealth Management.
More than 6 million Americans are currently living with Alzheimer's. Between the year 2000 and 2019, deaths from Alzheimer's have increased 145%, and almost two-thirds of those in Americans are women. 1 in 3 seniors that die with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. And 50% of primary care physicians believe the medical profession is not ready for this growing number of people with Alzheimer's or other dementias. And those are surprising statistics for me, I think for anyone. And they're still big, vague numbers unless it hits you personally. And we'll start with Barb. You're involved, as well as Jimmie, in causes for Alzheimer's, specifically in this case in the Brighton, Michigan area. And is this personal for you?
It's extremely personal. We have contributed from our businesses to the cause for a long time. This year, I'm co-chairing the Brighton Walk to End Alzheimer's with Don and Sandy Cortez. And the reason is, and I always knew that I would, but I needed time to get ready to do it. I lost both of my parents to dementia. 5 years apart, my mom first in 2013, and it was our first exposure, really, to this disease. We know what cancer is. We know what a lot of these things are. I didn't know a lot about Alzheimer's, except I knew of it.
Right.
So it was my first exposure, and it was pretty shocking. And then shortly after my mom passed, we started seeing the signs in my dad.
Right.
And we lost my dad in 2018.
Yeah.
So, I knew this. I knew I was going to jump in big.
Right.
We need a cure. This disease has no cure. So I knew I would, and I just had to wait until I could, and I was ready, and this was the year.
And it's amazing it's so on the rise. And Jimmie, how about you?
My journey's a little bit different. I'm a nephew to the disease. My aunt was diagnosed with it in 2012, and we lost her in January of 2020. And very similar to what Barb said, I knew what Alzheimer's, the name was, but I had no idea what the disease was. No one in our family knew. And it's the education, I think, that's important, right? That we talk about the cure, absolutely, but the education that people understand, right? You go back to years 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and Grandma and Grandpa were crazy, right? No, they weren't, right? There was early signs of Alzheimer's, right? And so you did share some crazy facts that it's around, right? Alzheimer's develops in the brain, they say up to 25 years before you see any signs or symptoms, right? And so it's the education like that if we take care of ourselves now, it's not going to affect us later in life.
So when did you get involved, or how did Team Susie evolve?
Yeah, so we got involved with the Brighton Walk specifically in 2015. I got in the walk committee, hanging signs, doing all that good stuff. And then after we lost my aunt in January, we started a nonprofit, Team Susie, to help caregivers. Because a stat that really kind of blew our minds is 95% of all caregivers get no help. They do it themselves.
And Susie be the name of your aunt.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, Aunt Susie. And my family was in that 5%. So it was something eye-opening for us because we're not in the 5% of anything, right? So it's pretty exciting to have that help that we had and be able to help others, because in that 95% of caregivers, that caregiver's health deteriorates twice as fast as the person they're caring for.
Right.
And that's a problem, right? They stop caring for themselves because they're so focused on their loved one. And we want to make sure that people focus on themselves. So,
yeah, and from my knowledge and experience, the caregiver, especially when it's somebody personal or they're helping a family member, when the passing happens, it's almost double as hard because you've developed such a close connection with this person, maybe even stronger than you had before. They depended on you, and there's an intimacy there, and it's tough.
It's hard.
There's no way to describe it. And again, as a nephew, and I don't even want to imagine putting myself in your shoes, but you say goodbye more than once, right? And so that's the hard thing.
Yes.
And that they're the only person in the room that doesn't know they have the disease.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's that part where when you care for someone else with a different disease, they know it. They're working on it themselves. But when you look at Alzheimer's, they don't know it.
And that is the hardest part. I mean, you are literally losing them a little more day after day, week after week. You're losing them.
Yeah.
And then you really lose them. So it's a compounding. It's just awful. Like you start missing them long before they've passed away.
Right.
It's very sad, and it's one of those things where people professionally, right, that I talk to about insurances and things like that, whatever it might be, and they say, hey, I'm not gonna be affected by it. Don't worry about it, right? But it's the people that walk in that have a relationship to it or know it go, let's just have the conversation. Let's talk about these things, what planning's like, what this situation could be like, because it's too late, right? If you wait and you wait and you wait, and it becomes too late, right? And so the optimism that I think we try to bring through the walk and what we're doing here is to bring that change, right? Because we know that the person right now with Alzheimer's probably isn't going to be the first survivor, but it could be someone in this room. It could be someone listening. It could be someone's children, right? And that's what we want, right? That's the change we want, because you can't change yesterday, but we can change tomorrow.
Yeah. And, the more and more I've gotten involved with actually the walk this year and with the committee, and I've talked to people, and we've tried to spread the word through our businesses. I don't know how many families there are that haven't been touched by this disease.
Right.
I mean, it's like you said, it's growing.
Yeah, it's growing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's in the 90s now. 90% are affected by it.
Yeah.
Right. So what you guys are doing is the productive side of grief. You're at different levels of it. It's touching you a little differently. We talk about these things a lot on these episodes for the fact that, it sounds trite to be, you could become bitter or better. And I think helping other people in the same situations, or what you learned, and having empathy for others that could go through something you've gone through, it helps your own pain. And I always say, maybe there's not a big answer for why sometimes we grieve so much, but if we didn't, then how would these other people get help? It's always the people that have hurt that end up building a Team Susie or co-chair the walk.
I think it's just the empathy, right? It's just
Right.
I've been there. Why ever have someone experience this with me, right? This sucks. There's no two ways to put that. You ask any caregiver, they'll probably use other 4-letter words that I can't say on
for
this,
sure.
right?
Right.
And you don't want your next person, your neighbor, right, your loved one, whoever that is, I think, to go through that.
And
from my
honestly,
experience.
I've found that, the walk is important, and that's why we're jumping in, and there's big things to do, but there's little things to do too. So the more I've talked about it, and somebody said to me, Lauren, actually, who started the walk here in Brighton, she said, it's so good to see you finally, talking about it, because it was hard to do.
Shout
But the
out to
more
Lauren.
shout out to Lauren. But the more that I've talked about it, I have found that there are people who were holding that too.
Yeah.
And as soon as you open that door for them, then they get to talk about it too, and they get to release, and it's helpful to them. So even on a small scale, just in a daily 5-minute one-to-one face-to-face with somebody, you can help a lot.
Right, sure. And I'm not going to press you to talk about it anymore. So let's move on to your never say no policy. I love this. Where do you work? What are you the co-owner of? And what is the never say no policy?
So my husband and I own Cooper and Binkley Jewelers in downtown Brighton on Main Street. We've been there 72 years, 50 years in our family this year.
Wow.
And then almost 9 years ago, it'll be 9 years in November, we opened Bink and Bab's Boutique, the little women's boutique down Main Street next to Brighton Bar Grill there. We have a never say no policy, a nonprofit organization who asks us for an item in either store for their raffle, for their silent auction, for a fundraiser of any kind, gets it. We never say no.
Yeah, and that's true. I looked at your website at organizations you've helped, and it's
pretty incredible.
Yeah, you had to go to really
Very
small
incredible.
print to fit them all on there.
Yeah. So I have a dear friend who I used to do some charity work with, and her name is Becky Dilworth, and her favorite saying was, "No one can do everything, but everyone can do something."
Sure.
And we can do something. We can do something. So we should, and why wouldn't we? So we do that. We love to, from every school who, the PTO is running an event, we have jumped in and we're doing some major sponsorships in some organizations. The Walk would be one of them.
Right.
The Arc of Livingston is an agency that advocates for people with
I
developmental
love
disabilities.
the Arc of Livingston.
So we've been involved with the Arc for about 27 years. Mark Howell has an organization called Fund a Life.
Yeah,
where
he's been
helps-
here. Tell that story and your
Yeah.
involvement in it.
Another
Okay,
shout out
so-
to Mark.
Yeah, another shout out to Mark. So Mark is the son I didn't give birth to. He calls me his second mama. We met when my oldest son, Mark, who is 29, was deciding to really go for a soccer future. And that's when we met Mark Howell. He became my son's mentor at about, probably 15 years ago. And then we just became close. The families are super close now. We got to know Mark super well. He was the big brother. I have two boys. This was my older son. He was his big brother that he didn't have. So we just got to be super close to him. He coached him all through high school. He helped him make some decisions on college, and they've been close ever since. And so when Mark got sick, what year was that? Gabe's 8. So I think it was 8 years ago. Gosh, he's going to kill me if I get this right. But anyway, when Mark got sick, his son was about to be born, and Mark wasn't paying attention to himself, but he knew he had some stomach issues going on, and finally went to the doctor, and they found out that he had a mass on his pancreas, but he was only 30. So they said, you're going to, it's a mass, it's on your pancreas. So that's important, but it's a mass. It can't be, you're young.
Right.
And then we find out that it's, a great big tumor.
Wow.
And so he had a surgery that I think lasted like 17 hours. I think that the mass itself was maybe 15 pounds. And they had to do that Whipple surgery. I mean, extreme. So he lost, they had to remove other parts of his intestines and whatever. And he honestly, he wasn't expected to make it. I mean, it was just such a severe cancer. It ended up being
Other than
stage
that,
4
healthy,
melanoma.
30 years old, about to have his first child.
Played soccer all of his life,
Played
an
soccer.
athlete.
Yeah. And he's a pretty good golf player. I've played with him. I'm terrible.
I say, Mark, he's the inspiration of Team Susie, right? Because what Mark did, and many listeners know now, right? But Fund a Life, funding lives that need help, right?
Yep.
And so just when you look at Alzheimer's, that people need help. Right. And so, again, that shout out to Mark again, because what he's doing is changing lives.
That's exactly what he's doing. And honestly, and I was telling Jimmie this when Jimmie and I have talked before, like we quickly threw a fundraiser together because there was just, nobody knew this was such an anomaly, what Mark was going through.
Yeah.
So we knew he had to be seen wherever he needed to be seen across the country, wherever.
And who can afford that?
Right. So we threw a big fundraiser together, and within a few months of his first surgery, he had other tumors come back. He's great now. But within a couple of months of his first surgery, we did a big fundraiser out at Crystal Gardens. And I think we had about 650 people turn up. And I think we ended up raising about $90,000. And that night, Mark said to me, now I'm gonna take some of this and help somebody else.
Right.
I
And
said,
he sure has.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I asked him to wait until we got him clear. So then he founded Fund a Life. And that's exactly what he's been doing. He's doing amazing things.
Yeah. So in brief, then what is Fund a Life? Jimmie mentioned it. Well, Jimmie, what's Fund a Life?
Yeah, he's funding lives, people that are in a life-altering circumstance that need help.
Right.
Whether it's bills, whether it's whatever, Mark is going to step in and help.
Whether it's an illness, whether it's a tragedy in your family, whether, just
endless. If you need help,
Yeah.
that's what it's about.
So he's doing the same thing we mentioned, is all these people are getting helped out of his tragedy.
I was just going to say that.
Out of his tragedy.
Yeah.
That moment, right? That first fundraiser, he goes, listen, why do I deserve this? I'm going to start giving it out.
And that's what he's been saying all along.
I have
Like,
goosebumps.
if somebody didn't have people in a community like I did, what would they do?
Yeah.
Like he's like, I wouldn't be here. I mean, he went to MD Anderson. He went to the National Institute of Health. He went to, we were able to, he could go wherever he needed to go.
Yeah. And that's the way things go. You have empathy. To me, compassion is when you move on that empathy, right? You actually do something, community gathers in, saves his life. He's helping other families. It inspired you to start Team Susie.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what has Team Susie has done?
So Team Susie, again, we are in an infancy stage compared to Fund a Life, but we are doing that almost that exact same thing, but for caregivers.
Okay,
Again,
right.
95% don't get help. And so
Right,
when we
right.
thought it was going to be respite care, you get help for someone comes in, takes care of mom and dad forever for a couple of days, take a vacation. And it turned into, can it be a Ring camera or an Apple Watch? Because my loved one wanders and I just need to know if they leave. Right. And so it's little things that people just can't squeeze that extra $300 out to get that Apple Watch, that we can do that.
Yeah.
Right. And so again, caregivers need the help because we're all going to be affected by Alzheimer's.
Yeah. What would be an example or two of your, off the top of your head, like some of your, I don't want to say highlights, because even the, giving a raffle ticket
Diamonds
or
and
something
denim.
is good. But
Oh,
okay.
Tell us about
Denim
that.
and Diamonds. So La Casa is the agency here that works in domestic violence.
Right.
So they do a big fundraiser every year, and I sat on the committee for a few years now, and we are a major sponsor. It's called Denim and Diamonds, and it's a fabulous event. I mean, it's just a great event to come to. It's at the home of Gwen and Stephen Bearden, which they are amazing contributors to this community, and it's just a great meal. It's out on their ranch. We donate a 1 carat diamond, but it's a $6,000 value. And we sell 100 tickets at $100 each. And you get to come to this event and you have the opportunity to mine for a diamond. So we've buried them in this big trough of sand, and there's 100 parcels in there, and you come and scoop, and at the end of the night we tell everybody which parcel number is the actual diamond.
Oh.
And so we sold out those tickets this year, so we raised $10,000 for La Casa with that event.
Very nice.
Even at the boutique store, I will tell you, we do, again, never say no down there, but we have a program down there, and this is another tragedy paying it forward, which is it's just an incredibly sad story, but Darien Locklear was a Brighton High School student playing hockey. She was headed up to a practice in Lansing area, I believe, several years back, wintry, snowy weather, and she was involved in a car accident, and she was killed. Her mom and dad have started the Darien Locklear Project, and they started it with the mission that they were going to go out and spread kindness, because Regina had kids coming up to her after Darien was gone saying, "You have no idea what she meant to me, Mrs. Locklear. We were, I was somebody who was sitting alone at lunch, and Darien would come over and sit with me." She was just one of the kindest souls. So family created the Darien Locklear Project to go out and spread the word of kindness, anti-bullying, and now they're even expanding to doing a little bit more like what Mark's doing, where they're going to just help anybody who's in need. So at the boutique, we have at Bink and Babs, we have a line of kindness wear. So T-shirts and hats that all have a Be Kind message on them, and we donate $10 from the sale of each of those items to the Darien Locklear Project.
Nice.
So we just presented Regina with another check last week, and so we've raised about $1,500 for the project just through the boutique even. So
very good.
It's fun, though, because not everybody says yes, and sometimes people just can't.
Yeah.
I love when like a student's coming in and they're doing something for their school, and you can tell they've practiced their speech and they've rehearsed their speech, and they're coming in and they're like nervous and they're scared and they're like, I'm going to get turned down. And they come in and I've gotten to the point now, if they're a student, I let them get it out because they need the practice,
That's
right?
right, that's
but
right.
sometimes I'll go like, you know what? Yes. And they're like, oh, really? Like, it's just shocking. So it feels good too. I mean,
Sure.
it feels good.
Yeah. When sometimes things are too close to you in these tragedy situations to have even you're not ready, or to have the braveness like you, even to jump in, to be involved in something that's personally affected you. But I challenge people to help somebody who is at that place, right? So it could be as simple, if it is back to Alzheimer's, if you're too close to it, or maybe you don't have the time or whatever, you can still go to a walk, right? You can still walk a mile with your friends.
Yeah.
You got to go out and get a good walk anyway, and you're helping. You can
Talk
volunteer
about
at a
it.
table.
Yeah. Talk about it.
Sure.
Right? Have the conversation.
Yeah.
Like Barb was saying, like once people know that we're involved with Alzheimer's, the conversations come out of everywhere, right? Out the woodwork.
Yeah.
It's interesting because people want to talk about it. They want to get it off their chest. They want to share their story and make sure someone else doesn't have to do it. And it's like that same theme.
And a donation too. I mean, really, no donation is too small.
Right.
If everybody donates $5 and, look at what that could build to. I mean, really,
Right.
no donation's too small.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's something we can all do at any time. There's so many needs around us. If we happen to be one of those people that have never had a hard situation or a tragedy, then, count
God
yourself
bless
lucky.
you.
Yeah.
Count
Right.
yourself lucky.
Right.
And help
Yeah.
people who are
Right.
with these kinds of opportunities. And then if you're somebody who has had these things, I mean, with you, Barb, and Jimmie, these are great examples of what you can productively do with that. I don't know if you want to call it pain or that energy, that stuff you got to work through anyway.
Yes.
It really does help.
It's
Yeah.
the humanity.
Right.
It makes your heart feel better, I think. I don't know, it does for me.
Right. Yeah. And when it involves a person, a lot of these things aren't always tragic in somebody's passing, but it always makes that person to you feel more valuable. The situation, no matter how tragic it was, their life becomes more valuable when their life moved you to do this and to help so many other people. Yeah. You helped Mark. Mark is still helping people, and he's able, just at a minimum, I mean, he can live his life and be a dad, and he has more than one kid.
3.
Now, right?
He's got
three.
twins.
Yeah.
Those two wouldn't have
Gabriel
been
and then
around.
the twins, yeah.
Coaching, he's a busy man.
Yeah,
Right.
he's actually his dream job. He is the Brighton High School varsity soccer
Wow,
coach.
yeah.
So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, and then you could follow it all along the trail as those kids are going to grow up. 2 of them wouldn't have existed. 1 wouldn't have had a dad. And when we're long gone, the inspiration and the stories are just their lives go on. And it all
Yes.
of a little effort.
Yes.
You put a little effort in, but it ripples beyond what we can even really track.
I think you said it right. It's a little bit of effort,
Right.
right? It's that extra 15 minutes. It's extra 5 minutes listening to the high school kid come in and do their pitch.
Yes.
Right. And then before you know it, again, you have that relationship with Mark Howell, and it's now 20 years later, we're here.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it's having that time. Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this conversation. I want to end it with one. I watched a video on YouTube of 70 years and 70 gifts.
Yeah.
What was that?
That was so fun. Oh my gosh, I felt like Santa Claus. It was so fun. So 2 years ago, Cooper and Binkley Jewelers hit its 70th anniversary, and we decided to give back because if it wasn't for this community, we would not be here. This community has been so good to us. And so we went out over a series of 10 weeks and gave away, or 7 weeks and gave away 10, but we gave away 70 pieces of jewelry. So I made arrangements with the restaurateurs and such in advance. Right. I wouldn't want to just spring that on them, but said, can I come in on a certain day? And so we literally just walked in and we walked up to tables and we had wrapped jewelry gifts and we said, hey, we're from Cooper and Binkley Jewelers. I mean, they looked at us kind of funny at first, but we said, we're from Cooper and Binkley Jewelers and we're celebrating our 70th anniversary this year and we wouldn't be here without this community. So we're out to say thanks and we have this gift for you. It was such a blast.
Fun.
The first couple times out, again, people were a little like, is the jewelry store trying to sell me something? Kind of, it was a little, they were a little, but after it got out and people were taking pictures and posting it on their social media, look what happened or whatever, then people saw us walk into the building and they knew what we were walking in for.
Right.
And it was just a ball. And you guys, the stories, I mean, there was a family that was, it was at the brewery, as a matter of fact. We did one in the beer garden at Brewery Becker.
Which has one of the oldest rare trees in the U.S. or something. Do you know anything about that?
I don't, but I'll ask Matt because
Google
that's
that.
his
I
stuff.
found it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I didn't know
He
that,
loves
no.
that thing.
That used to be Brighton Hotel, though.
Well,
way
there's
back in
a
the day.
family that, like, the mom, you could just tell, was like juggling everything, right? There was probably a grandparent there, was an older person, and there were kids, and there was a dog. Mom had the dog on the leash, and everybody was kind of all, we know what moms, I mean, everybody could give a shout out to a mom, right? Because we juggle and we carry and we whatever. And so I'm like, that mom needs a gift. And so she was one of the people that we picked, and she was just over the moon, like happy, excited, like, I mean, it was just that feeling of being able to do that. We had, and this has a little sad component to it, but we did one during the Kiwanis concert, and there was a woman who was sitting alone in a lawn chair, and so we did our thing, walked up, said our spiel, and gave her a gift, and she came in the store a couple days later, and she said, you guys have no idea, like, what that meant to me. She said, I was having a really rough week. She said, this is this time of year that I struggle with. She said, that was actually the day that my husband had passed away, and she said, I was going to stay home, and I was going to mope. And then I told myself, no, I've got to get out. And she got out and she went to the concert and she was sitting there by herself. And she said, and then you show up and give me a piece of jewelry. She's like, I just had to come in and tell you, like, you have no idea what that meant to me. So we were doing it because we wanted to just get out and gift and fun and celebrate and give back to just for, being here. But it actually, it did some good for some people personally too. So yeah.
70, that's a lot. That's a lot of gifts.
Yeah.
When's your next one? 100?
75.
Are you going to do 75?
Oh, heck yeah.
Wow.
Awesome. Very, very cool.
Yeah, heck yeah.
Very, very cool.
Planning some other stuff too. We got a few years to figure it out, but we're gonna do it up.
Yeah, that's.
I mean, it's a huge testament to you. I remember when we were chatting a couple days ago, or maybe the other week, and you said, Brighton's been so good to us. We want to be good to Brighton.
Yeah.
And it's just been something that's always kind of lingered with me since you said that these last, really couple of days specifically. And it's giving back, right? Knowing you're part of the community, and this is an awesome community in that capacity that people want to work together and play together and be together. And
yes,
to turn around and give back to the community, I think is pretty special.
We saw it even before the pandemic, you guys. We had customers who would see a piece of jewelry on a cruise ship on vacation, and they would come back and they'd say, like, I saw this and I wanted it, but I didn't want to buy it there because I wanted to get it from you guys. So can you get this for me? Mm-hmm. So we saw it before the pandemic, but I'm telling you, it was really driven home during the pandemic. The people who were reaching out to us saying, like, what can we do? How can we help you? How can we support you? There's nothing like this community.
Yeah.
That's really special.
It's a great place.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Barb.
Very
Thank you,
cool.
Jimmie.
Thank you, Ken. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for joining us, Barb.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having me.
As always, Purpose City is presented by Executive Wealth Management, and it exemplifies our core values of trust, community, and compassion.
Hi, I'm Jimmie Plaskey. I'm a certified financial planner and private wealth advisor at Executive Wealth Management. A lot of people ask about what we do, but it's not about what we do, it's about what we believe. And I believe that those who work with a genuine advisor are going to see successes that others don't. And I believe this because of my unique experiences as a student athlete and as a son of a business owner in the 2008 downturn. And because of these unique experiences, I want to emphasize 3 things in every meeting with every client. And that's to inspire them. Inspire them to make better financial decisions. I want to educate them. I want to educate them on these complex markets. Ultimately, I want to help them create a peace of mind in this planning process. The Executive Wealth Management and I do it differently through our Build, Defend, and Advance client strategy. If this is something that interests you or you have any questions for me, don't hesitate to give me a call at Executive Wealth Management.